Hello, my friend. Today we're going to be talking about lust, specifically lust of the flesh, which is a desire, an intense desire for something outside of God's plans. We have desires and strong things that the Bible coincides with, but we also have things that we are desiring as humans, that's our human nature, for things that aren't of His. And these intense desires can be sexual, it can be for money, fame, it can be so many things, hundreds of things that we don't have time to explain, but we're going to talk about how to overcome and be a conqueror over that part of ourselves. And before I dive in, I just want to say, by ourselves, we are lost. See, it's God that changes us. It's God that perfects us. And the kind of hard part of humanness is we'll never be fully perfected until we die and we're in heaven. And so if, while I'm doing these points, you think, hey, I'm going to overcome lust and I'm never going to struggle again, that's not true. And if someone's selling you that, please run the other direction. But there are some things where we can grow and we can be more spirit-filled and less flesh living out. And so that's what we're going to talk about. How do we do that? The first thing that we need to do with conquering lust is to close doors. See, I think sometimes we lie to ourselves and we keep an open door for another point in time where we can entertain those thoughts, entertain our eyes, entertain our imagination. And so we set ourselves up to fail. If sexual lust is something you struggle with, you need software on your phone. There's ones like Covenant Eyes. There's many others you can get. If you don't have those on your devices, you're setting yourself up to fall to lust. You're going to want to close other doors as well. So financially lusting after finances is something I struggle with. And I need boundaries in place that I can close the door so I don't entertain those imaginations and run down it. For me, one of those things is I only have a certain amount I'm investing. And that might sound weird to you, but for me, that has been an area that I needed to close the door because it was never enough. I always wanted more. And that's what lust does. It tells us it's never enough. So we need to close those doors. And what we can be tempted to do with those boundaries is we can move them real close, right? But that's not a proper closing of door. Closing door is putting something way far off. Again, if you're struggling with something like sexual lust, you got to be really careful what you are intaking, whether it's on YouTube, like this is getting recorded, or on a TV. Like, if that is something you're struggling with, watch the rating. Look in advance of what something is. Again, we're closing the door. The second aspect of overcoming this is community. Here's what I've noticed when we lust after other things. When we lust after things that are not of God and what things we're supposed to desire, we can feel this shame about it. And what shame does is it convinces us that no one else struggles with that and we better not share it with anyone. That's the enemy, my friend. That's not a thought of God, because what happens is when we entertain those thoughts in our brain and they stay there and we don't share them with community, it grows to something larger and bigger. Instead, do the brave thing. And I know it requires brave practice. But you want to bring out those things to a community so that they can walk side by side. Now, with finding the community to share with, it's super important. What you want to find is people that are walking the same direction as you. See, if you're struggling with sexual lust and you're sharing that with a non-Christian, someone that wants to encourage you to indulge that, that's not a proper place. That's not proper community. It's also not proper community if you share those with someone that's going to judge and put you down. And this is going to be a process of finding community to share with. And honestly, sometimes people are going to hurt you because we're human. And someone's going to judge. But I'm telling you from personal experience, you can't do this on your own. You weren't designed to do it on your own. In fact, in Genesis, God's talking about Adam in advance, and He says it is not good that he is alone. But oftentimes we try to conquer these lustful things on our own, and it just won't happen. The third thing, something called fruit to root. And I can't remember the book that this is from, but I'll try to remember and put it in the description. But fruit to root is basically this. What fruit are you experiencing right now? So if you are struggling with lust for something, that's a fruit. That's something you're experiencing. But we need to dig beneath it. See, sometimes we get so caught up in that one thing, we try to stop the behavior. But there's things below the behavior that are actually where the battle is won. See, if you're, for me, for example, struggling with lust of money, I'm thinking and I'm putting off something in the future that my life will be better if, that this problem will be fixed if. So I experienced the fruit of lust, but underneath there's the thinking that is inaccurate, that somehow money is going to fix my problem, or somehow this thing's going to help me. And that's what lust does. It convinces us that there's this desire that might be a good desire from God, and we're trying to meet it in an improper way. So you want to dig down deep and go, what is going on? See, I think oftentimes we're hurried around and we're not thinking, what is going on in me? In fact, I was sharing with a friend before I hit record on this that I was sped up this morning, that I was feeling behind. And the fruit I was experiencing in that moment was I was agitated and easily ticked off and unpleasable. And I had to look, what's underneath here? What's going on? And for me this morning, it was lusting after wishing I was somewhere else, a strong desire that something else was happening in my life. But see, this is the life we are given. This is the moment in time. And God can use us today when we let Him. And so when we pick apart and go fruit down to the roots, down to the thoughts, you'll find that we're actually more complicated than we think. See, sometimes these thoughts and imaginations and things going on inside of us, we're like an onion. And you peel away one behavior and one thought pattern, and there's a new one underneath. And so, like I said earlier in the video, I just want to remind you that this is not something that you're going to conquer and it's never going to be a struggle again. And you are perfected, because perfection does not happen on the other side, but we can have victory. I hope this tips helped you to see lust in a different light and handle it in a different way. With God, all things are possible. And I know that you'll see some victory in this area of your life.